I'm a lonely Goomba, stuck between two pipes. Well, guess I'll keep on gaming for the rest of my life. Ah yes, Donkey Kong on the Game Boy. What a classic game, which you'd already know if you watched my previous video, so go watch that if you haven't. But well, how does the sequel, Mario vs Donkey Kong, hold up? Will it even come close to the masterpiece of the Game Boy title? Well, let's get right in there and have a look, shall we? Right off the bat, you can tell we're dealing with a completely different beast. Instead of opening up with a tribute to the arcade game, we start off with Donkey Kong slobbering about on his couch and flicking through TV channels. If I didn't know any better, I'd say he's been hanging out with Wario too much or something. Eventually, he sees an ad for a mini Mario toy. A mini Mario toy which he instantly falls in love with. Like, madly falls in love with it. I guess DK got pretty lonely after Pauline stopped replying to his messages. It's interesting that this game actually has voice acting though, considering it's a Mario game and it's on the Game Boy Advance.
Hey, come back here. No, you don't. No, you don't. What are you doing? What's going on here? Oh, mamma mia,
I mean, it ain't great, but I'm pretty sure this is the most Mario has ever spoke in a game. In another 20 years, maybe we might even get 4 sentences. I mean, can you imagine that? But yeah, there's no rescuing Pauline this time. DK just steals a bunch of mini Mario toys and that's it. It's not great, but I doubt anyone is playing this game for the story. I mean, let's be honest. Another drastic change from the Game Boy game is just the overall presentation. Everything looks kind of weird. I don't know how to describe it. The menus are kind of soulless and the visuals often look inconsistent and sometimes kind of cheap. And the music is, quite frankly, is terrible. It all just looks a bit off. Take the world map for example, or more so the lack of one. It's just a very bland and generic level select screen. Each world does have a theme, but you'd be hard pressed to figure out what it is based on the level select. It really does lose some of the sense of adventure when you're just selecting levels from generic menus as opposed to, say, an ongoing continuous chase through various connected worlds like the original game. Whilst we're on the topic of worlds, let's just have a quick rundown, shall we? We got Mario's Toy Company, Donkey Kong Jungle, Fire Mountain, the Spooky House, a Mystic Forest, and finally, Twilight City. So, whilst the first game had 9 worlds, this one only has 6. And you know those cool little cutscenes between worlds from the first game? Yep, they're basically gone too. Instead, we'll just get this.
Let's get going.
Or this.
Hey, come back here.
Yeah, they're all the same. So really, let's be honest, this game makes a pretty bad first impression, I'm not gonna lie. But how's the actual gameplay? Well, I'm glad to say it's pretty good. And Mario's moves all return. The handstand, the high jump, the backflip, the old wires return. It's all here. So, whilst the first game had 3 types of stages, puzzle, action and bosses, this game is way more focused on the puzzle aspect. In fact, it's just a full-on puzzle game at this point, honestly, which is fine, and luckily it does introduce quite a few new mechanics to keep things interesting. The main one being coloured switches, which activate the corresponding coloured objects, such as blocks, platforms, ladders, you know, stuff like that, which was obviously impossible to do on the original black and white Game Boy. Unlike the previous game, the difficulty has a pretty good curve. You start off with simple puzzles such as using conveyor belts to move the key to the door, but soon enough you're positioning thrombs with switches and lining up these ghosts to turn them into solid platforms. And unlike the first game, these levels start to get really complex. Huge levels. You'll often find yourself having to take a look at the stage just to plot out the best course of action. There's just no way around it. This game is way harder than the first one, and longer too. Despite only having 6 worlds, each level on the map consists of 2 stages, and the second stage is slightly different too. Instead of having to carry the key to the door, you just have to reach the mini Mario and rescue them there. It doesn't really change much, but still, it's the thought that counts. So whilst it might look like there's only a few levels per world, you can basically double that. This game has a whopping 140 stages, and on top of that, each level has a collectible star you get if you beat the high score, and these are not easy to get. You need a flawless run basically. So not only are there way more levels, there's much more to do in order to fully complete the game. Basically, what I'm saying is, this game is absolutely massive. Luckily, the game at least tries to shake things up now and then to keep it fresh. For instance, at the end of each world, there's a brand new level type, and they're great. These things are entirely new, there's nothing like this in the original Game Boy game. And what you got to do is guide all the little mini Marios to the toy box whilst collecting the collectible TOY letters on the way. The issue being, these guys can't climb ladders and they can barely jump. So that's where the puzzle aspect comes in. I guess it's kind of a precursor to the next game in the series, Mario vs Donkey Kong 2, which I'll talk about another time. I really do like these levels though, but sadly, there's not many of them. There's one per world, so six of them. It's barely anything, let's be honest. You see though, the trick is, the more mini Marios that get to the end in one piece, the more hit points you'll have on the boss. And these bosses, man, they really did get quite an upgrade from the last game. Not only are the scenarios way more involved, they're bleeding harder too, probably why you can take up to 6 hits as opposed to 1. The first boss is honestly more complex than anything in the previous game. You see, DK hits these coloured switches which not only changes the platforms, but also the trash cans you need in order to hit him. There's also a bit more variety in the bosses. This one, for instance, has you dropping fruit on Donkey Kong as he slides around like a madman. And this one has you controlling the conveyor belts to get the bomb to Donkey Kong before it blows up, or whilst dodging these lasers. There's no way around it. The bosses are much better in this game. So, after beating all the stages, we get a little cutscene. Donkey Kong finds out that he's lost all his toys, and Mario, like a bit of a dick, just points and laughs. And then the minis come in and laugh. And then these toads show up from absolutely nowhere just to point and laugh at him too. I guess them toads are never one to miss a good point and laugh opportunity. Does anyone else want to join in whilst we're at it? Come on, no one's looking. Just point and laugh at DK. It feels good, I'm telling you. It pisses Donkey Kong off though, so much that he captures the toads. Kinda says I'm right, should have minded my own business really, and personally, I couldn't really care less about these toads, but we gotta beat the game, so let's do this. The fight then. And okay, this is actually pretty ambitious. You have this tall ass arena with Donkey Kong at the top throwing barrels down, or classic arcade style, and you have these 3 captured toads in which you have to carry the correct coloured key to save them. Issue being, the keys only appear when Donkey Kong hits the coloured switch, so it can get a little tricky. So, you rescue all the toads, but there's more. The toads now work together to bring on a giant barrel, which you have to bring up to the top and smack DK. Each time knocks him further down. But man, it gets tough. He's spamming them barrels like it's nobody's business. Heck, he's even got his own giant barrels now. It's pretty tough. I don't know where Donkey Kong's getting all these barrels from though. And quite frankly, I'm probably better off not knowing. But we do it. DK falls down and the credits roll. And that's it. Only, no, it isn't. Remember when I said this game was massive? Well, Donkey Kong captures the toys again, and there's 6 more worlds. Holy crap. Granted, there's less levels this time, at 6 per world as opposed to 13, and they do reuse the same world themes, but still, it's a nice surprise. And not only are there new levels, these are all a brand new type of level, a combination of the mini Mario stages and the standard puzzle stages. So, instead of picking up a key and bringing it to the door, you gotta wake up these mini Marios and guide him to the door, making sure he doesn't die along the way. And these levels are fantastic, and a great way to up the difficulty whilst keeping the core gameplay intact. And every time you finish a stage, Mario says this.
We did it! Good job, little guy.
Not gonna lie, I find that kinda cute. And on top of the new levels, you have also got 6 new bosses. Although really, They're just harder versions of the previous bosses, but still though, these are bladed hard. Like, I'm telling you, at this point, we're so far gone from the difficulty of the original Game Boy game, and I think I like the game more for it. And that's not even attempting to get the high score stars, which is even harder. You know, I honestly think these extra levels are better than the core game. Just a shame there aren't nearly as many of them. So again, we play through those and we beat DK up 6 more times, and now it's time for the true final boss. It's been a long journey, but we made it. Heck, even Mario's getting fed up by now.
Here we go, again.
He sounds a little bit pissed off actually. He's getting too old for this shit. But before we know it, some big old hands come up and Donkey Kong has somehow built himself a giant robot. Not gonna lie, it looks kinda silly. And really, it's just a rip-off of the final boss from the first game. Only it's way easier. He barely punches, and reaching these top platforms requires no effort at all. So, outside of the hype of a final boss, the previous final boss was not only way harder, but more original too. But I suppose seeing a giant Donkey Kong mech is kinda funny, so I'll give it a pass. Very easy fight, but kinda cool I suppose, and at least the music is decent, unlike the rest of the game. So we beat DK, and he roars like he's been possessed by about 50 demons at once. Man, why is that so terrifying? And then right, he starts crying. Mario's pissed off, but his mama taught him better than to kick someone when they're down. So instead, he gives Donkey Kong a toy. Hold up, all that trouble, and he just gives him a bloody toy anyway. God damn. And that's it, for real this time. The credits roll, and Mario literally narrates the credits. It's fucking amazing.
Oh, the engineering, mamma mia.
And it turns out Mario is a big fan of Charles Martinet. Who knew?
Ah, that Charles Martinet. Nice Italian boy.
But wait, there's more. Dear Lord, there is more. Expert mode. So, you know those high score stars you could get? Well, they unlock even more stages. The hardest stages in the game. Granted, there's only 12 of these, and they're purely optional, but still, unlocking these stages takes a long time, and they're really tough. But well, at least you get your money's worth. And that's Mario vs Donkey Kong. Now, you might be wondering after all that, how does it compare to Donkey Kong on the Game Boy? Well, it's a tough one. In many ways, it is better. The level designs are probably better, the bosses are better, and it'll probably take you like 10 times longer to complete. But on the other hand, you have 6 worlds. That's 6 world themes stretched across 140 stages. They really milk those worlds for all they're worth. And it makes the game feel a bit boring at times. The game is also kind of soulless. It's got no charm. You got boring menus, there's no sense of adventure or progression, and the music sucks compared to the original. And personally, I think the graphic direction is pretty ugly. It's trying too hard to look 3D and modern, and everything kind of just looks blurry and unrefined. So the game completely drops the ball on the presentation aspect, which drags the game down more than it should. So it's weird, isn't it really? There isn't a clear answer. If I was to recommend one, it'll be the original Game Boy game. It takes more inspiration from the source material, and it feels like a true sequel to Donkey Kong, as opposed to this game, which feels more like a Mario game in which Donkey Kong just so happens to be in it. You know, seeing traditional Mario enemies in a Donkey Kong game, it just feels kind of weird to me. It just feels like a selection of random levels as opposed to an adventure. The Game Boy game is short and sweet and will likely leave a much stronger impression on you. And if you like it, play this game next, and just basically more of the same. Much more. Dear Lord, this game has a lot to do. And that's it. 2 truly great games that deserve some love now and then. Just like Donkey Kong, who's so lonely, his only companion is a soulless piece of plastic. What a loser. Not like me though, right? Totally not lonely. Yep. Having the time of my life. Alone. Completely alone. Yeah, screw it. Where can I get one of them mini Mario toys? Better yet, I heard they make Pauline ones now. I'll take 20. No, 30. I'll take all of them. and the Patron of the Week is 50 Cent, which ironically is how many times he has to be Patron of the Week. Are you happy now? Is this what you wanted?